Hey, you've arrived in the right place. It's episode 15 of Smooth Traffic. It's the smoothest automotive podcast out there. You know it, I know it, so let's get this thing started. I'm with Robert King as always.
Hello.
And the other chap, Benny Pearce.
Hello.
We've got so much to cover in this episode, it's ridiculous. Rob's going to have a rant, Ben's got news about some robotic racing, I've been to an Audi range day, and me and Kingy have been to the Coys Classic Car Auction in Ascot. So much to cover. Let's get into this. Right, well, a week or two ago I had an absolute blast on the Audi range event, which was basically for me a festival of horsepower. It was fantastic. I didn't really drive anything sensible that day, but when you've got the RS models, the R8 V10 Plus and some other quick Audis, you tend not to go for the more sensible stuff. You don't go for the Audi A4 TDI, unless of course you have actual work to do. Thankfully I didn't. So I picked all the RSs, and in total that day, I think I drove over 2,000 horsepower's worth of car, and I think I'd easily gone over about £400,000 in car prices that I've managed to drive that day. Where do I even start? So I guess I better start with the sort of headline car of the event, and the car that will make King the jealousest.
Most jealous?
That'll make King the most jealous. Yeah, so I managed to drive the Audi R8 V10 Plus, which is an absolutely stunning machine. 602 brake horsepower, a 205 mile an hour top speed, 0 to 62 in, who knows, really, really fast, and mid-engined with that lovely 5.2 litre V10 sat just behind my head. It was absolutely fantastic. It's the most responsive car I've ever driven, and also one of the least intimidating. It was like getting into a very, very large roadster, really. I mean this is a coupe, so that statement makes no sense whatsoever. But if you imagine getting into something like a Toyota MR2 from a few years ago, it was a bit like that. One of the second generation Toyota MR2s, but it was just a lot bigger, a lot wider, but just as friendly to get used to, and really not very intimidating at all, which for a car that has 602 horsepower and a massive V10 engine is great. Absolutely great. Very, very responsive, very easy to drive, and obviously the V10 is absolutely staggering. Fantastic sound, awesome power, and really, I mean, I think it's ruined cars for me. Because I don't think there'll be many cars that I'll drive that'll be as fast as that, and everything else I think is going to feel a bit slow now, which is a bit of a shame in some ways. But as an experience, driving a supercar for the first time is an incredible experience, and you can't quite believe your luck when you're sat behind the wheel of a supercar and someone says go off for an hour and see what you think. We hope you like it. It's an incredible experience, great fun to drive on the roads, not very intimidating at all, really simple, easy to reverse. We had to reverse an R8 at one point, it was really easy. I can't praise it enough, really. As a my first supercar, I think it's one of the better first supercars that you could go and get, because it was just so simple and welcoming and easy to use. But I was with Alex Goy from Carfection at this event, and we were just talking about the R8, and he said that these cars have to be idiot-proof for the people that buy them, and I just thought that was a really good point, and that's what they feel like. They feel really idiot-proof. Quattro all-wheel drive, so you're not going to wrap yourself around a tree unless you're being an absolute pillock, and it makes everything so easy. The 602 horsepower is not intimidating in the slightest. I felt more intimidated driving a Morgan three-wheeler than I did driving an Audi R8 V10 Plus, and I think that it's up to people to decide whether that's a good thing or not. But for someone who's never driven a supercar before, for me that was a good thing, and I think Audi deserves some praise for managing to make a car with that much power and that much performance welcoming in some ways.
It doesn't surprise me, John, as you say, Audi have kind of got to make that vehicle idiot-proof, just purely for the fact that, yeah, you're going to get those people that sort of turn up and go, I want that, here's my checkbook. Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody uses checkbooks anymore, but you know what I mean. And
here's my briefcase full of money.
Precisely. And, you know, then they're going to go off and drive like, more than likely, an utter lunatic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I suppose Audi have got to... I don't want to say that they've got an obligation to rein the vehicle in somewhat, because I don't imagine they've done that. Obviously, you're more of an expert now since you've actually driven one.
Yeah, I would say I am.
Not that I'm bitter in any way whatsoever. But yeah, obligation isn't the right word, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, when there's almost, Audi have a responsibility almost.
A duty of care to idiots.
Well, I would say a duty of care to the rest of the world, on the basis that if you know that there's a 50-50 chance that an idiot will buy your car, if an idiot then buys the car and drives off, all of the people who aren't idiots and are just on the road,
yeah,
you've got a duty of care for those people.
Yeah.
Because you're giving an idiot a car with 600 brake horsepower.
Yeah.
So, although it sounds like I'm almost criticising Audi, well played Audi for doing that.
Yeah, thanks for keeping us safe from pillocks, Audi.
Exactly. You can't decide who buy your cars, but you can make it safer for the rest of us.
Yeah.
So, well done.
I think that's a very, very well made point, actually, King. You've looked at it in a much more open way than I have there. Obviously, I was just thinking of pillocks with money and briefcases, and you've actually managed to make it much more about us as people driving about, minding our own business. Good point.
Well, exactly.
That's a really, really well thought out point, I think.
Thank you, John.
I did get to drive some other sexy Audis on the day as well. Aside from the two Audi R8 V10 Pluses I got to drive, I also I knew you'd like that. I also managed to drive the Audi RS6, which again is another 602 brake horsepower car, but this time with a V8 engine instead. Big old estate car, very heavy, but so comfortable, so composed on the road. But this was much more of a handful than the R8 V10 Plus was. A little bit more squirmy, a little bit more intimidating, and a lot more. It had a much bigger character than the R8 V10 Plus. It was much more of a spirited car, I think. The V8 is very characterful, makes some incredibly sexy noises when you change up a gear or change down a gear or just put your foot down. Sexy noises all the way through the car, but you have to be really a bit more careful with your application of the power in that car. Despite having another quattro system in there, it was a little bit more of a handful. I think overall I might have preferred the RS6 to the R8 just because it had more spirit, and a car that's probably, well, is that the ultimate daily driver? All the space of the estate car, a huge engine, all the comfort you need, all the kit you need. I think that could be a contender for the ultimate daily driver. It wouldn't be the one I'd have, but I think it's a very good shout for being the ultimate daily driver. And there's something about it that really got under my skin, and I wasn't really expecting it. I was expecting it to be a bit of a lump and a bit unnecessary. And it is a bit of a lump and it is a bit unnecessary, but in a really good way. It's really hard to explain, but it was a car that I think I could grow to love more than the R8. The R8 as an experience, as a one-off, is fantastic, and it's brilliant to be able to drive a car that looks that good and drives that well. And obviously driving a V10 is special in itself, but a big old V8, there's something about a big old V8 that just has a little bit more spirit about it. And in the RS6 it did feel really, really good. So something else I drove was a little bit quirky. It was the Audi RS Q3. That's a very, very strange car. It's a strange mix of RS sports car performance with Q3 compact SUV practicality and comfort. Strange blend. But 360 odd brake horsepower, four-wheel drive again. Lots of RS touches, nice RS dials and RS flat bottom steering wheel. Surprised me in how good it actually was. It's not something that's going to set anyone's world on fire. And it is a 50 grand compact SUV, which is bananas. But lovely 2.5 litre 5-cylinder engine. Very, very great power application. Very, very good in the corners. Lots of grip. Felt safe, felt composed, felt stable. Not much body roll. I was actually quite impressed with it. As a SUV, it's remarkably decent in the way it drives. Again, it's not going to set anyone's world on fire. It's not a 5-star car or anything like that. But as something a bit quirky and something a bit modern and something a bit new, in that we haven't really got many cars like this yet. I think it's a very, very exciting start to that segment, and you're not going to see many sold, that's for sure, because it flies in the face of logic. But surprisingly good. So well done, Audi, on the RS Q3 performance. It was a very, very good car, and I was pleasantly surprised by it.
I have one question for you then, John.
Go on, hit me.
One word answer. Don't even think about it.
Yep.
Who makes the best RS? Ford, Audi, go.
Ford.
There we have it.
Should I elaborate or?
No.
No.
I just wanted a one-word answer. We're done.
No, definitely Ford. But yeah, if I won't elaborate. People can draw their own conclusions. Let us know what you think. Who makes the best RS, Audi or Ford? Tweet us at Smooth Traffic.
So, we at Smooth Traffic are great fans of pretty much most forms of motorsport. Formula E in particular. John and I have got quite the interest in.
Yep.
But something that's caught our eye this week, or rather has caught Smooth Traffic's own tech expert Ben Pearce's eye, is the Robo Race.
Yes.
Which from 2016-17 will apparently be like a support race at each Formula E event.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Jonny to keep quiet for the first 30 seconds of this, just so we can actually get some information out there. So the idea is that, as you say, it'll be a support race for Formula E. You get an hour race. It's going to be on the same track. All of the cars are identical. You get 2 per team, 10 teams. They're using this new NVIDIA Drive PX2 system, apparently, which is a fancy-ass computer that can do 24 trillion calculations a second. The only difference between the cars is that you program the software yourself, and it's all about artificial intelligence. So the idea is the teams program the car to learn from its surroundings and from previous races, and therefore race better. So basically, the only thing missing, as you would have, I suppose, with the normal driver, is that they wouldn't have that instinct. But in theory, they'll be making much better, more effective calculations, than a human could, and take, the perfect line and all that. But the idea of 20 cars that have been programmed essentially by humans to learn how to race each other, and probably at quite high speed, to be fair, because there's none of that sort of safety concern of having a human on board. I think that's thoroughly exciting, and could be either carnage or exceptionally good driving. I'm not sure which way around it'll be.
This excites me greatly. I'm all for technology moving forward and whatnot, and
yeah,
it's the obvious next step from the Formula E type racing.
Yeah,
I know that John has differing views on this.
He's actually so angry now he's passed out. That's why he's not saying anything.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing how this does. I mean, it may debut and be a complete flop because, as you say, it might just be absolute carnage, and they just scrap it.
Or everyone just goes in a perfect line around the track, and you're like, this is dull. But,
yeah,
it's got potential.
I mean, the greatest fear from my perspective is that there's potential for a real life Skynet Terminator situation with this kind of AI, but we'll leave that for another day. John, what are your views on the Robo Race?
I think it's the worst idea in the history of motorsport.
I thought he was going to say in the history of ideas, so we're not too badly off.
It's just a terrible, terrible idea. One of the biggest appeals of motorsport is personalities and the charisma and the emotion of the driver outside of the car and inside of the car. Being able to talk to them about how it was, share their experiences, share their triumphs, their defeats, even their injuries, their deaths. A big part of motorsport is the human aspect. Motorsport is very much about the cars, but it's more about the humans inside the cars, because the humans inside the cars are some of the most spectacular people on the planet. Who's going to spray the champagne at the end of the races? Who's going to celebrate when one of those cars wins? Who's going to get annoyed and give a ranty interview afterwards? Who's going to retire halfway through the race and sit on a deck chair and launch 100 memes? It's just the worst idea in the history of motorsport, and if this thing takes off, it will be the death of motorsport as well. In 30 years' time, we'll all be sat watching computerized, graphics cards and calculation materials on wheels, driving around boring, because most of the Formula E circuits are quite boring inner city circuits. It's an absolutely terrible idea, and I just really hope it doesn't take off, and I hope that they all just explode in a big ball of fire somewhere.
I think it's a valid point that you wouldn't have somebody, the sort of the motion and the drivers, creating that extra excitement. But I think in terms of the future of tech, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the sort of the main form of motorsport. I think as a bit of an add-on for Formula E, it's quite exciting. I did see that the last race for the season would be in London later this year, so I think it might be worth trying to pop along and see it if we can, just to see what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I know a couple of people in Formula E, so maybe I will give them a call, see if I can get in, and maybe we can do some smooth traffic at the Formula E.
That would be fantastic. but I have to pull you up on this, John. I don't think it would be the end of motorsport.
It would be the end of motorsport, King.
No, it wouldn't. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna use a terrible example now, and it's just for the sheer hilarity of it. I know a couple of people who once, in a drunken stupor, went into a betting shop and put money on a horse race, which was actual virtual horse racing. Because they were drunk, they didn't realise it was virtual horse racing. Now, the point that I'm going to make is virtual horse racing was created, and yet horse racing still continues. And anyone who likes horse racing will probably say that horse racing is much better than virtual horse racing, and in no way has virtual horse racing been the doom of horse racing in real life. So, similarly, robo-race will not be the end of motorsport as we know it.
But nobody turns up in hundreds of thousands to watch a virtual horse run a race before a real horse. Virtual horse racing is exclusively for people who can't put their wallets away.
And drunkards.
But what if robo race cars go twice as fast? You know, and
it doesn't matter because nobody's making
creative.
them go twice as fast. It doesn't matter how quickly they go. They could go 300 mile an hour around a corner and it wouldn't be impressive because nobody would be doing it.
John, they're making themselves do this. This is the thing that
Who cares?
I presume that you're having the trouble.
I don't care if a computer can take a corner at 300 mile an hour. I want to see a man or a woman take a corner at 300 miles an hour.
But surely if the computer can do it, then that sets the bar for what humans should be aiming at.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because computers are infinitely more capable than human beings are. Human achievement is about what we can do. Computer achievement is something entirely different. If a computer went out and broke the land speed record in 3 weeks' time, it would not be impressive. But if the brave men and women who are going to get on the SSC Bloodhound are going to go out and break the 1,000 mile an hour barrier, that's impressive because that takes ginormous balls. Ginormous balls. The type of balls you just don't find in the street every day. The type of balls a computer just cannot possess. If we end up watching robotic racing cars driving around a track for an hour, it's going to be absolutely awful. It's going to be awful for every form of motorsport. It will be the end of motorsport. The end of motorsport. I'm absolutely adamant about this. This is the most adamant I've been about anything since I went to a fucking service station in Folkestone.
Well, two more things then before we end this. One, I would like to see someone go around a corner at 300 mile an hour, and I propose to strap you to the top of one of these cars, and it can take you round. And finally, I suppose from the technological side, if these cars are, learning as they go, and people are programming them to be, exceptionally good at driving and competing, then I can't imagine it do anything but be good news for this sort of autonomous car stuff that's going on at the moment, and the, like your Tesla autopilot and everything else. The tech that we developed should be useful in other areas as well.
Well, he's absolutely right about that, and if you've got any views on this at all, just tweet us at Smooth Traffic, because this is a hot debate. I want people to be firmly on my side of this argument. So recently we all had a little drive around in the Honda HR-V, which, as you might already know, is in the Smooth Traffic 5-car garage for being the best car to take your mum out in. And part of the reason for that is we all had a go with it, and we all really rated it, actually. Very, very good car. Kingy, Benny, the car was the real thing, wasn't it?
Good journalism there, John.
Yeah, no, really, I nailed that.
No, I think it really stood up compared to its bigger brother, the CR-V, which we enjoyed a lovely trip to Germany in.
Episode 2.
It was just like that, but smaller. And just as enjoyable, just as economical, just as spacious. Well, probably not just as spacious, because it's a slightly smaller car. But
there was plenty of space there, wasn't there?
Plenty of space in the boot as well.
There was.
Yes.
In case you haven't seen the video already.
Yeah, have a little look on our YouTube to see just exactly how much space there is in the boot. But yeah, loads of space inside. Lovely panoramic sunroof on the top. It ate into the headroom a little bit, but they all do that, and you can kind of forgive that a bit. Lovely, comfortable ride. Great seating. Lovely sort of interior layout across the dashboard. Very, very stylish looking thing. Lovely gear change feel and position of the gear lever. And it handled really well. And the 1.6 diesel is one of the, for me, one of the best diesels you can drive. So yeah, overall just really, really impressed with it, and we're going to have a few more videos coming out soon on the YouTube channel featuring us and the Honda HR-V, so stay tuned to have a look at it. We're sure you'll enjoy them. Right then, so on the 16th of April, me and Kingy went along to the Coys Ascot auction of classic and fine automobiles, and it was quite the experience for us.
It was tremendous.
What an experience.
Really laboured the word tremendous there.
Yeah, I like what you did though. It was a fantastic experience all round. We got to see some absolutely stunning cars that you would not normally get to see. We got to see how the classic car auction scene works, see the buyers, see the people, see the auctioneers, how the telephone bids work. We got to see everything, and it was a really, really great experience. And there's a few cars that we've really fallen in love with from that auction.
There certainly are, Johnny. A couple of them we mentioned before the auction. The Fiat Topolino, which for us was very much the star of the show.
Yeah, I'd agree with that actually. The Fiat Topolino, was it a 1934 model, that one?
No, 1937, John. 1937 Fiat Topolino.
1937, yeah. 1937 Fiat Topolino, in absolutely stunning condition. And when you saw it in person, I mean, in the photographs it looked amazing, but when you saw it in person, you really just fell in love with the thing. It's just so pretty, so well preserved. It's just in great condition. And the most staggering thing of all is that somehow someone in that auction managed to buy it for just £12,000.
Estimated to go for 20 to 25.
Yeah.
And someone's got it for basically half the value of the estimate.
Half the value of the estimate, and more than that, cheaper than some brand new Volkswagen Ups.
Cheaper than an Up.
Cheaper than an Up, which is a fantastic car, as everyone knows, because it's in the Smooth Traffic 5-car garage.
True, but the Topolino will probably give you many more hours of motoring pleasure.
Oh, the Topolino is just absolutely outstanding, and I'm so jealous of that. I couldn't believe it. I was in the auction and I nearly dropped the catalogue. I couldn't believe it. How can you sell a Topolino for £12,000? Where's the reserve, ref? Where's the reserve? Unbelievable. But the person who bought that got an absolute bargain, and I'm so pleased for them. But I just could not believe the price that it went for. Another little piece of Italy we like, Kingy, the Lancia Delta Evolution 2.
Oh, what a machine.
Now, we know that you lot really love this as well, because our Twitter went rather bananas about this one. And, once again, what a stunning car. Great condition once again. Pristine, absolutely pristine. It looked like it had just come out of the Lancia factory this minute. It was in that good condition. Beautiful paint. There's something about a Delta Evo, isn't there? There's just something about them. There's the fantastic lines over the wheels, the boxiness, the way they had to modify the bonnet to get the engine in. It just looks absolutely stunning. But sadly for me, Kingy, I'll never be able to own one.
No, that's true, because you can't fit in one, can you, Jonathan?
I don't fit in a Delta. And I'm not exactly a big lad either. I mean, I think I'm averagely big, 6'2", but when I got in the Delta, because you can't adjust the seating and the steering wheel and stuff, my head was practically sideways, which is strange, really.
I have a picture of that, which I will be tweeting out.
Yeah.
Just for reference, obviously.
We thought it was worth getting a picture of that, just so you could all see how I can never have one of my dream cars. My head was more or less sideways on the roof of that thing. It was so cramped in there, which is surprising, really, because it's not exactly a tiny car.
No, absolutely. Again, that went for a bit of a steal, didn't it? It was estimated at 30 to 40k, and didn't it go for somewhere around 20, 16 to 20, something like that?
I can't remember now. I thought it was a bit more than that, but it was still cheap for what it was.
Absolutely,
because you will not see a better Delta than that. I don't believe there is a better Delta than that out there on the road, and if there is, you should tweet us at Smooth Traffic, so King can drive it and not me.
Another piece of Italy that grabbed our eye.
Oh, we just love little pieces of Italy.
There seems to be a theme developing here. A car that I'd never even known about before. 1959 Bianchina Transformabile.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Which it was another car similar in size to the Topolino. Very cute to look at. Soft top, which was convenient because when I got into it, my head stuck out over the top of the roof. So it was lucky that the roof was down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Similar to the Topolino, it had suicide doors rather than your regular doors. Just an absolute delight. I had a sit in the driver's seat, and it was just lovely. The comfort, the way the car, it was so small that it kind of wrapped around you, but in a good way. Albeit the front wheel arch was very much in the way of where you'd expect the pedals to be. So the pedals were slightly more central to the vehicle than you'd like. But yeah, another little classic. That was estimated at 17 to 22,000. Again, it didn't make its estimate as far as I recall.
Yeah, I recall the same thing.
That was very much something about the whole auction, actually.
Yeah.
Not a lot of vehicles went for their estimated value.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is is good. Good for the buyers because they're getting a bargain.
Yeah. It was definitely a buyer's day, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and there were a number of vehicles that didn't go because they didn't reach their reserve prices and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
a number of them didn't have them, and they went to the highest bidder.
But yeah, overall, just a fantastic event. Some really stunning cars there that we were really lucky to get our hands on as well, because it's an auction. You can go in and have a look at the lots, get your hands on them a bit. So it's a rare chance to get your hands on a 1937 Fiat Topolino or a Lancia Delta Evolution or an Auto Bianchi. Was it an Auto Bianchi?
Bianchina. A
Bianchina Transformabile. You don't get the chance to get your hands on these things very often. So it was great to come up close and personal with these cars. Great to see how buyers and sellers conduct their business. Great to see how Coys hold an event, how the people behave,
I can't praise Coys enough.
Yeah, it was a great event.
They did a sterling job. The staff were all on hand should you have any needs. Just happy to drop everything if you had a question or anything. And it was just really interesting to see the way that the whole day sort of worked. Well, I'll say from both sides, as it were, because we were there quite early for the viewing sort of portion of the day, so you kind of saw them still getting ready for everything, and then when the actual auction kicked off, it was quite exciting, wasn't it? Really, John?
Yeah, I found it really exciting, and there was a little patch just before the auction started, maybe an hour before, where there just starts to get a little buzz around the place. It just starts to fizz a little bit in anticipation, and it's a bit like before a sporting event, I think, in that sense. You just start getting that little build up of emotion in everyone, and it just gives the room an atmosphere. But I absolutely agree with you, praising Coys for the way they handled the event and the way their staff are. They're really, really good people, and they make you feel so at home. Whether you're spending £1,000 on an old Peugeot 104, or whether you're looking to spend over £300,000 on an Aston Martin DB6, they couldn't be nicer. They treat everyone the same, and they're more than happy to go out of their way to give you a hand. So yeah, really, really good event. Delighted we could see how it all worked, and definitely an experience. And next time I'm registering to bid, because
that's dangerous.
I have got a credit card, and as far as I know, if I want to buy a wrecked Triumph Herald on credit card, there's nothing to stop me. So next time I'm registering, just in case.
Now I'm thinking I might have to register just so I can outbid you, so that you don't make a fool of yourself. But I suppose that's self-destructive in itself.
Well, we'll see where that ends up, I suppose.
Indeed we will. And something else we'll see where it ends up. The Clarkson Hammond May show.
Ooh, good link.
Were also in town at Coys.
They were.
We won't say any more than that, but I'm sure there will be ample media coverage between now and when their show goes live.
Mm-hmm. But they seem like nice guys. They seemed approachable. They've got a huge team around them. So Amazon are clearly pumping huge money into it, because the media crew around them was absolutely massive. And yeah, we're not going to reveal what happened, because we want you to go and enjoy their show. And they're great entertainers. We think you're going to enjoy their show. So when it's all out later this year, go and watch it. And hey, you might even see 2 members of Smooth Traffic in the background.
I would like to talk about something that has got on my nerves recently.
He sounds angry.
I've had a couple of trips on the good old British motorway system, and the level of driving ability is just incomprehensibly awful.
It's been fucking disgraceful recently, King.
I mean, there are just so many things that annoy me about motorway drivers.
Like?
Well, I don't even know where to begin, Ben. This is why it really, really has wound me up.
Hulk up, King. Rip his shirt off and just go nuts on it.
First and foremost, people who pull into the lane that you're driving in without indicating until basically they hit the indicator and then pull immediately into the lane.
Yeah.
All right, they're not letting you know their intention and then doing it in a reasonable time. They just hit the indicator. I'm going into the lane now. Too many times I've had to hit the brakes on the motorway. You shouldn't be using brakes on the motorway. Simple as.
Indicators are a safety feature. You use an indicator to tell someone where you're about to go. You don't press it as a token gesture because you're too lazy to do it in the first place. Isn't
Precisely.
that right, King?
No, I completely agree. The other things that annoy me are all these middle lane hogs.
Oh, Christ.
What is wrong with you? If you're going to drive down the middle lane and there's nothing on the inside lane, you have no excuse for your actions. if there's no other traffic around, get in the inside lane, for goodness sake. That's what it's there for. There are 3 lanes. It's not slow to fast and you think, oh, I'll just pop in the middle because I'm kind of, doing the speed limit or whatever. Just get in the inside lane. If I'm tooling up in the inside lane, you're in the middle lane, I've got to go all the way out to the outside lane to then go round you and come all the way back into the inside lane just to make a point about the fact that you're in the middle lane. So I've got to pull all the way across to try and encourage you to get out the bloody middle lane.
And don't forget to flash those bastards as you pass them in the middle.
I do love a bit of sarcastic overtaking. It is good fun.
I tell you what, that's been on a steady decline though, because the number of people hogging the middle lane has been getting worse and worse for the last couple of years. It's been getting worse, if anything. And it's all well and good the police coming out and saying, oh, we're going to punish people who sit in the middle lane. But how many fucking times has that actually happened? I would hazard none. The police are not doing anything about it at all. The other day, when I was driving to the Focus RS event, I was on the inside lane, well out of the way. There was a lorry a long way down ahead of me, and there was 6 cars in the middle lane between me and the lorry. And were they catching the lorry up? Barely. They were just sat in the middle lane hogging. It was an absolute disgrace, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and the police need to do something about it before I ram someone off the road.
How do you feel about those people that join the motorway, Johnny, and go straight into the outside lane? That winds
Scum.
me up.
Scum.
That does piss me off. Especially, or actually, even worse is that when somebody comes along the slip road and are about to join, and you get out of their way and go into the middle lane, and then they try and undertake you. It's like, mate, I've done you a favour. You can hang on for 30 seconds for me to get past you and pull in before you pull out.
Yeah, exactly.
Piss me off.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
the people that try to join a motorway at 50 and you're trying to join as well. Why can people not get up to 70? Unbelievable.
I hope these autonomous lorries have something engineered into them where they can ram these wankers off the road straight into the grassy sort of verge and they can just sit up there and they can sit and think about what they've done, which has been shit at driving for their entire lives.
What about an automated stinger device? If a lorry detects you middle lane hogging, pops out a few
I love that.
a few needles, bam.
No, disgraceful. Motorway is getting worse and worse and worse. If the police don't do something about it soon, I'm going to start throwing grenades out of my window, but not in a terrorist way, in a good citizen way.
Bit of editing for you there, Rob.
Yeah, thanks.
Right, well, that was a really highly charged episode of Smooth Traffic. The blood is just pumping through me right now, King. The adrenaline is up. Thank you ever so much for tuning into this episode. Let us know what you thought of the topics we covered in this episode by tweeting us at Smooth Traffic. Please, by all means, tell me that you agree with me. But until next time, we'll catch you on the Twitter. And thanks for listening once again. Cheers!